Sometimes when I'm thinking about us, before we got lost and we parted, back to back we would carry on and we'd do anything for what we started. But this time we could break. I'm running dry, everything's the same. We'll try tonight. This time we're not safe and sound, not safe and sound. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. Sometimes when I'm reasoning about us, I know you got me, it's so effortless. Back to back we would carry on and we'd do anything for what we started. But this time we could break. I'm running dry, everything's the same. We'll try tonight. This time we're not safe and sound, not safe and sound. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me?
Welcome back, everybody. Well, welcome me back, I guess, to the
Yeah.
FPV News.
Yeah, welcome back to Bardwell. And
Yeah.
welcome back to us. We're
Yeah.
back here on a Tuesday for another episode of the FPV News.
It is. John Phillips just asked, what's the expected start time? Now!
Now,
It's now. It's time to start. I tried to catch up on all the news that happened. Well, all the news? There's a lot of the news that happened while I was gone. Apparently things happen even when I'm gone. I think that's unfair, and wouldn't allow it, but, I accept it.
yes, time marches on.
Oh, excuse me. I need
We do
a
have
mute
a good
button.
show for you.
That was pineapple spindrift. Apologize, a little burp there. We have a good show for you. It's true.
Yeah.
Sponsored by Spindrift.
No, not.
Seltzer water with real fruit juice. It's really good if you drink seltzer
Fair
water.
enough. Too bad it's seltzer water. All right.
Water that tastes like a fruit farted on it.
Terrible.
What are we gonna? Let's enough of this bullshit. Nice to see you all. We're gonna do the news. We're gonna start with PSAs, public service announcements, little things that we want you to know about right at the beginning.
Yeah, and the first one we've got is GetFPV is selling remote ID modules that haven't been approved yet. So if you
That's good. Oh,
went,
wait. No, that's bad.
if you went and bought the Luminaire RID module in the first batch, it is now back ordered, and the next batch will be coming later in May. Then you might want to know that your module is not currently legal. It may meet the requirements of the FAA, but it is not approved with the DOC with the FAA, meaning it is not legal, meeting the legal requirement to use on your drone. I got this reply back from GetFPV support today just to confirm that. The paperwork has been submitted but the product itself is compliant currently. I'll just tell you from my own knowledge, it only takes 2 days from paperwork submittal to get it back. So that might be really convenient that I happen to email them, or
maybe something else is going on. Yeah.
But either way, you should know that if you're purchasing this remote ID module, this does not legally meet the requirements. It technically meets the requirements, but it does not legally meet the requirements because it's not an approved module.
Right. So in case there's any confusion about that, because people say, well, why can't you make your own remote ID module? And it's true that you could create an electronic device that does all the things a remote. It's like if I go out and say, I'm a doctor. I am a doctor and I am allowed to provide medical services. It doesn't matter how good I am at doctoring. If I didn't go to college and get a medical degree and get a certification by the state, they're not okay with me saying I'm a doctor. And it's kind of like that. You have to submit this paperwork, and the paperwork says, I'm doing remote ID. Aren't I a good boy? And then the FAA gives you it's a DOC, Declaration of Compliance.
Yeah, you submit a means of compliance, and then they give you back a declaration of compliance for your device.
And until you have that declaration of compliance, everyone flying with your remote ID module is technically not complying with the law. Now, I said to you before the live stream started, it is not an excuse. GetFPV, like if you're going to sell remote ID modules, obviously they have to have a DOC. But if you bought one of these and it's on your drone and like for some reason you get in trouble with the FAA, I feel like there's pretty good odds that you'd be like, no, I had a remote ID module. And they probably wouldn't go, aha, but it didn't have a DOC now, and like rake you over the coals. I think they would probably let it slide. And if anything, they'd be mad at GetFPV. So if you did buy one of these, I don't think you need to freak out. But GetFPV, what are you doing? It's not okay.
Yeah.
Like, there's not even like, if we go to the product page, does it say on here somewhere, we're not compliant, we don't have a DOC, don't use this until we have a DOC? No.
They use creative language, I would say, to get around the fact that they don't say it's legally certified. That? So it says in the features section there, it says, go scroll up.
Specifications, features? Oh, here we go.
Yep, like halfway down. Meets FAA remote ID requirements.
Well, that's just... that.
So it depends on how you read that, right? That's very creative language.
No, but obviously no one's going to know. In fact...
And that's what my point is, 100%. I emailed back with the email that I got, because that was the email I received, and I said, you should put a disclaimer on the website, so that people understand, because nobody knows that. People are ordering this as though it's a working module that they're allowed to use legally. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people have no interest in complying with remote ID and just, give two fingers to this. But if anyone feels like they need to comply and has spent $90 on this, then by all means, they should be legally compliant. And GetFPV, I'm not saying they should put, well, it's out of stock now, so they don't even need to pull it. But they really, that seems like an oversight at best. So.
Yeah.
There you go. So if you bought this, you're not technically compliant. And I'm sure you will be very soon, but not for now. Yeah. I can't resist, Blunty. I can't resist talking about the price. $90 for a GPS module and a little PCB? Why, that should be $15 at best. Why, I could buy those components for 3 cents and half an onion. What a ripoff. Do you have an opinion about that?
I think the first round was 70, right? I think they introduced it at 70 and then sold it at 90 later, I think, is for the next batch. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, the biggest issue is just the requirements that you have to meet. Exactly. Like you're not seeing anybody sell a cheaper module with a GPS on it, because it's hard to sell and produce a module that's cheaper with a GPS on it. If you can do it, you should do it, because you'll sell a lot of units.
Well, what I was getting at is that you could look up the bill of materials cost for the components that go on this, and you could decide that it's got, I don't know, I'm making up a number, maybe it's got $30, $35 in components on it at most, I would guess. And then you could say, okay, now add a typical retail margin, and so it should cost X. Right? And X is way less than 90. But I think what I'm getting at is there are additional regulatory requirements involved in selling a remote ID module and keeping it legal that these manufacturers have to hoops that they have to jump through. And anytime the government adds hoops you have to jump through, it becomes more expensive. And I think people overlook that. I just like to harp on it.
Yeah, just to be clear, like, you're required to provide support on these modules. You're required to track who purchases them. You're required to reach out to users if a rule change happens so that you can update them. They have to be updatable, or you have to take all of them back and replace them at no cost to the user. You know, you have to file for serial numbers and keep all those serial numbers filed with the customers who got them. You have to obviously file the MOC to get the DOC, like we were discussing, which takes typically a lawyer. You want to do with the lawyer. You have to have an incorporated business or an LLC for that. You know, there's liability for the work, and there's just a lot of different levels to the production of it. And I think a lot of people think it could be done a lot cheaper, and maybe it could be for certain people. But if you actually want to meet the guidelines, the requirements, and not have it pulled in 6 to 12 months when they start carrying, you know, which could happen. You know, you really have to do these kind of things, and that's why you're seeing all these RD modules come out at these prices.
So what I would say is, if you just think F the FAA, I'm never going to comply, then what do you care how much it costs? You're not going to buy it anyway. It could cost $1 million. Doesn't matter. But if you're trying to comply and you're annoyed at how much these cost and think it's a price gouge, and, you know, the flight test module, we hear the same thing. Everybody thinks remote ID modules cost way more than they should. Blame the government, because the cost of complying with government regulations is substantial in terms of just manpower and time and risk in the future. And that's just how it is. Anyway, I'm not saying you should or shouldn't buy it. I'm carefully staying away from that question. But I feel like we should drag people and companies when they screw up, like GetFPV not certifying this and selling it. Drag them. But then I hate when people get accused of gouging or other things that they're not. I don't think they're really fairly being accused of, and I'd like to stand up for them. Anyway, all right. Next up.
Next up.
A long one.
Another PSA. Foxeer is selling receivers with bad telemetry power, and they know about it, and they're still selling them. And we wanted to let you know, because the XBladez team has let us know, and everybody on Facebook know about this. Foxeer basically got with the XBladez team, got some test equipment. They showed that the test equipment was faulty and that the receiver output for the telemetry was only 10 milliwatts instead of 50 milliwatts. Foxeer just sold those receivers instead. They didn't fix them. They just sold them, even though they knew there was an issue with telemetry power, did not tell anybody, didn't say anything anywhere. It just doesn't meet the standard. So XBladez wants you to know, and their suggestion is return them so that they can understand why this is stupid and that you shouldn't be doing it. But that's, of course, up to the user. Many users don't even care about telemetry, but you know, your mileage may vary. This does not affect the signal out to the drone specifically. You know, that's up to the design of the
It's the telemetry upload.
This is about the telemetry back to the drone.
I find it entertaining that Jai Smith is using an emergency RF power meter, because anytime someone uses a power meter to measure power, the manufacturer just is like, well, a power meter's not accurate. You can't trust it anyway. But I feel like if Jai Smith is doing this, he probably knows what he's talking about. Now, there's an argument from 661 FPV who says, well, 10 milliwatts at 900 megahertz is still a lot. I mean, sure, maybe it's enough, but it's not as much as you should be getting. And I think the argument here is don't reward bad behavior. It's your call, though.
Yeah. I mean, they're selling a piece of equipment that they know is not proper, right? I think that's the problem here.
Yeah. Why when, like, had they already purchased a bunch of amplifiers or something? And so they were like, we're going
I think they already made the whole run.
Oh, well, I don't blame them for selling it. What are they going to do? Throw the whole run out? At least,
but you put a disclaimer on the page that says these only do 10 milliwatt. It will not affect 98% of users. If this affects you, please do not purchase this receiver. It's not hard to do.
People deserve to know.
Also,
that's the takeaway.
I just want to point out that on the page it says 50 milliwatt telemetry RF power. That's part of the problem.
Well, that's just a lie.
They're still advertising 50 milliwatt, even though they were told and showed by XBladez developers that they do not test at 50 milliwatt.
I gotta say, I remember a time when the XBladez devs were like, we're not gonna say this is good. We're gonna put our seal of approval on hardware. We're staying out of it, and I'm really glad that they didn't stick by that decision and are unafraid to keep their hand in keeping the quality of XBladez hardware high.
So, sorry, Wesley has a statement about that, so we should. Somebody replied to Wesley on the Facebook post and said the development team can publish pre-product testing results, stop fast trade scam with these manufacturers, And Wesley says, we need to wait until the hardware has been released before we discuss it publicly. Otherwise, we'd be compromising manufacturers' commercial advantages. We also like to give them a chance to rectify issues without airing dirty laundry, which most of them do. It's just the bad actors that end up in posts like this. And the other big thing that they've said multiple times across this post is that you can tell if something's verified because it's in the configurator.
Exactly.
If it's not in the configurator choose to flash, then it is not verified by the XBladez team to be working good hardware, and they recommend you should avoid that hardware or make sure that it's good hardware before you purchase it.
Yeah, I agree. And I can only imagine how much work it is keeping up with all these designs. I mean, it certainly is one of the reasons that the Betaflight project went to the unified targets. So that manufacturers could do the work of managing their targets themselves, and the Betaflight devs didn't have to have their hand in on every single new flight controller that came out. And who knows if something like that is coming for XBladez, where they just can't keep up. But every time we see a situation like this where they're like, this product has a problem, don't use it, I'm like really thankful that because one of the potential weaknesses of a project like XBladez is that some shady manufacturer comes along, makes a product that's a piece of shit, and sells it and gives the project a bad name. And XBladez deserves better. So,
absolutely.
All right. Well, there's our PSAs.
Yeah.
Let's go into the actual news.
All right, and it's Drone Racing Drama Day.
Drone Racing Drama.
Yeah, so we got a couple stories here back to back about drone racing drama that we want to let you know about. The first is XBladez Racing Team is a part of Drone Champions League, DCL. But they are no longer a part of DCL because DCL has kicked them out of the league, essentially. They've disqualified XBladez. And XBladez posted this Instagram post here with information about what happened, essentially. So this is the CEO of XBladez. Essentially, he's been asked to comment, and he says, the dispute here is over a 2023 contract where XBladez pilots and other team pilots were not paid their prize money by DCL after a 2023 final, which took place on 20th of December 2023. Contractual obligation is that prize money is to be paid to the pilots a maximum of 4 weeks after the finale. To date, this has not happened. Before submitting and finalizing contract terms, we wanted this matter resolved. The DCL claimed that XBladez did not follow the preseason administration request or follow the rules is untrue. If so, how were we heavily promoted? For 9 years, we've been part of this building the sport, growing a platform. We fully comply with our DCL race administrative obligations for 2024 and claim they have always followed the rules. DCL CEOs refused our request for meetings and without warning or communication, transmitted an announcement to all pilots and teams banning XBladez from the 2024 championship. And they go on to talk about how they wanted to reverse it, and they've supported other teams when this has happened, and they're upset that DCL has decided to ruin this relationship. They don't think it's very fair for somebody to do this. They think obviously they should be paid for what they were contracted for, which we haven't seen those contracts. And yeah, it is unfortunate. So I think there's I just have two things I would say about this story, right? The first thing that comes for me is your job as DCL is to fix this. Similar thing with MLDR, right? Your job as a company who's contracting pilots is to handle this ahead of time. Right. Know what your pilots are talking about, know what the issues are, know why they're going to complain, prevent all this before it happens, come to some kind of settlement, come to an understanding, be very clear about the contract terms to everyone publicly, however, right? Because right now we're floating in a world where DCL, from what I can tell, has not responded to this. They were just floating this and letting this go for 2 weeks now. This has been out. Yeah. And, they're calling for a pilot's unit and all this kind of stuff. And from what we know, they haven't been paid and then got kicked out because they complained. That's what it seems like, right? Or maybe there's some bad blood or something.
That's their version. That's their version of the story.
That's the narrative that's been pushed to us. And unfortunately, DCL has not given us any other narrative publicly. They haven't responded, at least that I've seen, anywhere about it. But the other thing I'll say is they claim that they were contracted that money. So is it not enough money that you can pay a lawyer to take care of it?
I mean, maybe.
Lawyers
are expensive.
Right. It's just, that part is, and where is this contracted at? Was this in the U.S. or another country? the reason you get a contract is so that you can guarantee payment in situations. And it sounds like XBladez is claiming like, hey, you didn't do the right things, so we don't have to pay you under this contract. And if that's true, maybe that's true, right? Like, I think we hear a lot of things about how, oh, there haven't been payments, or we're not being treated properly, or we're not being included, or whatever. And then you go and read the contract, and that's what you signed. You signed this agreement. You didn't do these X, Y, and Z things. You didn't do them for the last 8 years, and they picked this year to do them.
Sleazy people be breaking contracts all the time.
Yes.
So for what it's worth.
I mean, that is somewhat true, but the last few times we've seen this, the contracts have said what the contracts have said. And like with the MLDR situation, that was not a required payment from seeing the contracts, right? Right. Like, and the next story we're going to talk about, there was no contractual obligation where somebody thought there was one. You know, we haven't seen the contracts for this one. But as far as we know, like, DCL is claiming through this XBladez post, not even DCL's claim, the XBladez is saying, DCL is claiming they don't have to pay them based on the contract obligations. They're probably not saying that out of nowhere, but we don't know that, obviously. Right. So I would just say, like, understand what you're signing, understand what you're doing, understand where the money's coming from and why you're going to be paid what you're going to be paid. What's the payment history? What's your history with the people? How much communication do you have with who's actually paying you? And like things like that, I think, are really important. Did the company change hands recently? Is the person who pays you changed? Like, these are all things you have to worry about in a tiny hobby sport that's being supported by individual salaries. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like they think that they fulfilled the contractual obligations and the other party disagrees. And at that point, well, you either sue them or you suck it up, or you try to make a public stink and hope they fold. That's where we're at right now, I think. It sucks because anytime you're in a situation like this, like you hope it goes smoothly, because if it doesn't go smoothly, it's probably not worth whatever it's going to cost you to sue. And if you do, I had a situation recently where I had a disagreement with a contractor who did some shoddy work, and ended up suing them and ended up actually getting a settlement from them. But as I was making that decision, I was thinking, okay, that was weird. My SD card just disconnected. Everybody still here? Everybody still here? Okay, great.
I'm here.
As I was making that decision, I was thinking, well, it's going to cost me money to sue them, and if I win, and I might lose. And if I win, I might not be able to collect. And when you sort of think sort of rationally about the expected value of those decisions, a lot of the time it's just not worth even suing them.
Yeah.
And so then you just have to trust that the other person is going to pay you and hope that they do.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Like, you have to understand, like, where's that money coming from? Is it still secure? Is it the same it was before? Was this really a blindside? Like, I don't know that much about how DCL runs, or who's been paying them, or how all the teams work out, or what the structure looks like. But it's just all stuff to know, because we're in a hobby where this stuff can happen very quickly. And what's the real outcome here? How many people are going to boycott DCL? Who's even watching DCL to boycott it, right? Like, I mean, I don't
know. Is DCL that popular right now?
Not that I know of. Like, I mean, maybe it is in other countries, but we cover FPV news and we don't hear about it much. So
all right. Well, sucks to be XBladez, and if DCL has something they want to say, they can. We'll definitely put it on the news.
Just to finish this off, it sucks. There's not a lot you can do. I wish there was more to do about this, but like, at the end of the day, it's unfortunate that nobody can really do anything to DCL other than the other pilots that fly for DCL, right? Like, you could pull the whole organization out from under them if everybody boycotts the organization. But other than that, like, what are you going to do? Like, again, I don't know anybody who watches it to tell them to boycott, to not watch it, right? Like, I don't know anybody who puts funding towards it to pull them to not fund it, right? It's just
maybe that's why they're not paying XBladez.
It could be.
Maybe they're just out of money. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it's a symptom of the company.
Yeah. The first sign that a company is in trouble is when they stop making payroll.
Absolutely.
Right. Well, I mean, there can be other signs, but any company that stops making payroll, you start making plans to get the heck out, because it's not good. Anyway. There's another piece of drone drama, and this one relates to, I'm sorry to see this happen. So MultiGP Street League is the 7-inch drone racing spec class. There we go. Tailored after DRL, the 7-inch quads that they use in there. You build your own, you race. It's Street League. It's pretty cool. And they partnered with MultiGP a little while back. MultiGP going to run Street League races. It was a really good sign. I thought it was really good for everybody. and then it apparently has fallen apart. Is that it?
Pretty much. They didn't get what they wanted, essentially, and decided to leave.
Yeah.
So they were misunderstanding, essentially, what MultiGP had there in mind for what they do. So basically, they say here, there was a contract between Street League and MultiGP, and that agreement has been terminated. The 7-inch classification has been built in collaboration with MultiGP. Our contracts with MultiGP designate us as their official 7-inch classification, and we'd be happy to provide our expertise in the space of spec drone racing in return. Our expectation was that we would continue to collaborate to bring awesome LED-lit 7-inch drone racing to pilots around the world. Earlier this year, MultiGP announced that they'd be hosting a 7-inch race in the UAE, which we'll talk about in a bit. That's the Sharjah race, which is tailored for spectators and fields some of the greatest talent. After hearing about this, we spoke to leadership to see if there was a way Street League could help. They had no intentions of using or promoting Street League spec, despite setting on a 7-inch LED-lit spectator-focused platform for the race. We feel this didn't align with the spirit of the agreement, but it did follow the terms of the agreement. So we felt that by promoting a different 7-inch classification, our agreement lost its value. However, we came to the understanding that the contract only permitted to MultiGP.com, did not include their other social media. Later, when we saw the front page of MultiGP.com creating a promotional banner, we felt a line was crossed. We believe this is a direct violation of the contract as well as their stated interpretation. We hope MultiGP would work with us to remedy the situation or provide alternate options. However, these efforts failed. Our partnership has now been dissolved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do we have a statement from MultiGP about this? Because now we've read the Street League statement. I assume you asked or
not an
reached
official
out?
MultiGP. I did not, because I didn't know when we were doing the next thing, so I have not.
Okay,
I did not reach out.
So suffice it to say, we don't. We're not taking
this
a
is
side
pretty
on this.
self-explanatory.
But it seems pretty
There is an
Yeah.
aside to take, because Street League says this is mutual. And they explain that, we thought the contract said something, it didn't. So we decided to get out of this because MultiGP didn't want to work with us to find a better solution. Basically, it sounds like MultiGP was like, no, you're not exclusive 7-inch. We also do Street League stuff, but we want to do a 7-inch race that didn't include Street League. It just happened to have LEDs and 7 inches, and that's what we did because there's no agreement to the contrary. That's sort of the idea.
And I don't think we should weigh in. I feel like sometimes on these things we take a side. And we're like, oh yeah, so and so sucks. And I just want to be clear, speaking for myself at least, this sounds like there was a disagreement about the terms, and maybe that disagreement should have been clearer, or maybe one of the people here is shitty and the other one's the good guy, and I don't really feel like I know which of those is true. I definitely can see that if Street League felt like they had this exclusive partnership and then saw 7 inches being promoted, and that was a big race, that was a big deal. It would have been very good for Street League to see them being promoted there. And I also, so I could see why they're mad, but also, if MultiGP gets this opportunity to run this giant race, and the person running or entity running the race is like, well, it's not going to be Street League. And they're like, what are you going to be like? Well, sorry, we're out. So it sounds like it was a tough situation for everybody involved. And it sucks because I think seeing MultiGP promoting Street League would have been a good thing for everybody. I mean, MultiGP just being pretty much just 5-inch racing, I think that is in some ways hurting their success.
We got to have a discussion then. This is everybody put your thinking caps on and don't jump to conclusions. Okay, we got to talk about something.
Okay.
Okay. If DRL existed, which it did, Street League adopted the similar frame size and weight, but chose their own spec ideas and components for a 7-inch series and did not attribute any of it to DRL.
Not officially, that I'm aware of. I mean, everybody knew where it came from.
Yes. So in that respect, is it that crazy that MultiGP made up their own 7-inch spec race that doesn't involve Street League?
Not at all. Not at all.
So that's, I guess, where I'm at with this. Is this really even a story? Street League was confused about what they had in their contract. It wasn't what they had in their contract. Now it's terminated.
Or it was or Street League is right and MultiGP stabbed him in the back. And I'm not saying they did, but those are two possible interpretations. We don't know. But I think the issue is not that they I think the issue to me seems like that Street League wanted to be promoted.
Street League wanted to be involved because 7 inches were involved.
Right. They're like, well,
But I'm
we
saying,
have an
why-
exclusive. Yeah.
Right, but they didn't. That's what I'm saying. That's the whole
Right.
thing. They only have it for the multigp.com, which is their admittal, and we don't know how hardcore concrete that was and what the wording was.
Right.
So like I
Street
think
League is in the chat. Street League's in the chat and
Yeah.
commenting. Says it was just about a contract being broken. Yeah. So, there you go.
Yeah. All right.
Sucks.
Fair
and we're sorry and wish the best. I honestly wish the best to everybody. I just wish mommy and daddy would stop fighting. And I wish that they could find a way to come forward. But if you don't feel like the other party's going to hold up your end of the contract, like you were just saying, if you feel like the other party is not going to hold up the contract, then you can't really do business with them.
Yes. And maybe this was a good time for them to figure that out instead of later on in the process.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about something positive, which is that race, that same race, the Sharjah race. Sharjah Drone Champions 2024.
In the United Arab Emirates.
This race is massive. Look at this.
Yeah. And this is kind of a throw-together race. I mean, it seemed like MultiGP just in a few months went from this not existing to promoting it, getting all these pilots announced, to shipping them all to the UAE. I know there were some challenges to get everybody in the country. I heard some different issues happen there. But they ended up getting, I believe, everybody who needed to race in to do the racing. And this was a really good race from what I saw and from what I've seen from people. And it's funny because they basically did a set of races to all point up, and the top points totals the top 4 went to the final grand finals. And you can see Killian dominated the points standings above. 412 versus 316. Really
that's huge.
Yeah, really dominated. But that meant the final 4 were Killian, Leviathann, MCK, and Banniuk. And we see here our final placement was Leviathann taking the grand final after, I believe, Killian wrecked in the MCK, or Killian wrecked on his own. Then we saw MCK come in second, which he's definitely not used to. Banniuk coming in third, and Killian coming in fourth. So congratulations to all those guys and everybody who participated in this race. They even got BMS Thomas out there. They got Nurk out there. All kinds of people.
And I just want to say, I think you were reading quickly, and that's Banniuk. Luke Bannister, right? Okay. Banniuk.
Gotcha.
So
I'm not familiar with him.
Yeah, no big deal. He was hugely popular a while back, and I haven't seen his name in the racing scene quite as much lately. That probably says more about me than it does about him. But
I know at least for some of these guys, I mean, like BMS Thomas and stuff, like they pulled a lot of these guys from the from the old roster, kind of a collection of old and new really good racers. So.
Yeah. Well, very cool. Always cool to see big drone racing events. Reminds me a lot of that the Drone World Championships back in like 2016 or something that Tommy went to, and I don't think he won. I don't know. Another big event in the Middle East. Anyway, great.
Yeah.
Well, one more piece of news about drone racing companies. There's really only one company we haven't talked about yet, and that's Drone Racing League. When we last saw Drone Racing League, they were partnering with crypto company Algorand to make some gambling pay-to-win mobile game, and they were selling drone racing beds. A bed shaped like an FPV drone that you can sleep in. So
I'll say, and then the next time they were in the news, they were shutting down and laying off their entire physical staff. And
everybody just got fired.
So they got rid of everybody who ran all the physical drones, did the physical races, and they started going virtual. And now we see that they have been sold. DRL has been sold to a company called Infinite Reality for $250 million. Infinite Reality is a AI-powered immersive experiences virtual company.
That phrase means nothing. That phrase has no meaning.
Yeah, it feels very venture capital to me.
Hey, you can venture capital me for $250 million. I'll sell you a line of bullshit too.
Right.
$250 million.
Interestingly, they value at 3.5 billion, up from 3 billion earlier this month, with a $250 million acquisition. Not sure, maybe they acquired other people or something. But yeah, they have a bunch of different companies under them. This to me feels like some kind of weird venture capital bubble company, but I don't really know anything about them.
What did they buy? They bought DRL's transformative technology, media, and sports ecosystem. That has no value. I mean, probably not no value, but like DRL as a brand, ever since the pandemic, they stopped doing live races. They used to do live races in stadiums 8 times a season, whatever, a television show on NBC. Like at that time, I was like, this brand has value. And now, like as an FPV pilot, yeah, I kind of, I obviously know the DRL brand, but like what value does the brand, the media ecosystem have outside of the drone world, and in the drone world, it's not worth $250 million.
I don't know. EDOC says DRL's patents. What patents?
What do they have patented?
Yeah, I'd love to know. If you have a link to any of their patents,
don't they have? Isn't there like they had a control link and video repeater system that they used to get video from the drones throughout all the stadiums? Is that? I thought I heard that was patented.
I don't know. It doesn't seem that hard to make, but maybe it's worth $250 million.
It's one of those things where you say it's not hard to make, but then actually having made it has a lot of value. Ooh, patents. EDOC has a link. Oh, this is hard-hitting journalism here. Patents assigned to Drone Racing League, Inc. Quadcopter hardware characterization and simulation. Okay, so this is for, like, simulating quadcopters in DRL Sim. That's cute. I don't know if that has like a lot of value.
Yeah, all these so far are nothing.
Sensor noise and camera noise recording and simulation. That's simulated camera noise used,
Nothing.
Autonomous quadcopter piloting controller
diversity
and debugger.
Receiver. You can't. That's not a thing. You can't have patent a diversity receiver.
Simulator modular autonomous drone. Plurality of cameras and an AI controller. How is this patented? This is the most vague. There's a quadcopter. There's a quadcopter, and it has some AI.
Yeah, I think a lot of these are unenforceable patents.
This can't be a patent. This can't be. This was granted. It can't be enforceable. This is a bullshit. We have AI. What? Tell me what an AI controller is.
I mean, it gets way worse if you go scroll down. They have patented gate and finish gate for drone. A lot of these are not going to hold up. Drone aircraft? I don't know.
I don't know, man. I don't see. That's weird. What gate? A patent? The fuck? You can't patent a gate. Are you kidding me?
They're trying to patent their specific gate, but is that really a patentable thing, or is that a?
Okay, so they have. I hate business so much. You know what I want to do as a business person? I want to think of a product that people want and that will help make their lives better, and then make the product and sell it to them. And clearly that's like just a big mistake. The way to run a successful business is to just create this bubble of bullshit. Patents that are just, oh, look, I have 500 patents. I patented a pencil, and look, this is my patent for a keyring. Oh, and then just quick, go public or get VC money before anyone notices. And the VC are raising money from other dumbasses, and just hope you just get all your cash out before it all falls apart. And yet, I see people getting rich doing this instead of going to the poorhouse, and I feel like the world is upside down.
Yeah.
Anyway, why can't I get rich by selling bullshit? Some people would say that I do. Sell bullshit. Not rich.
Okay. All right.
Alrighty. Anyway.
Well, that's going to do it for our drone racing news for this week.
Ever since I saw that Algorand crypto tie-in, I knew that company was on the way down.
I think we definitely saw some writing on the wall, but it's interesting to see that it's still, $250 million. So I'm interested to see what happens.
Go.
Like,
yeah.
Like where it ends up. I don't know. I just think, like, what are they buying it for? Is it just to have a portfolio, like, to get more investors, or is it like, how are we going to do something with it?
I have no idea. It's some secret. Here's the truth. It's a secret thing that we'll never know about. DRL has some resource that this company needs that is not public facing. Look at Orca. Orca made like goggles and, and then all of a sudden Orca just disappeared. What are they doing? Right? They're selling to, I don't know, governments. Right? They're still around. Somebody's keeping the lights on over there. You'll never hear about it though. Yeah. That's my theories. DRL has some secret technology that they're going to sell to the government. We don't know. 250 million. Is that like cash?
I doubt it. I didn't see like specifics on the deal, but I highly doubt it.
Can't be cash. All right, moving on.
Yeah.
Moving on. Rotor-Riot Rampage.
Yeah.
There's some good news about Rotor-Riot Rampage.
Yeah, we want to give a shout out to FPV Freedom Coalition, which is me and the guys over at fpvfc.org, mainly Alex Suarez and Dave Messina, who are a big part of making this happen. Yeah. But basically, if you get a Rampage, you don't have to worry about remote ID, because the entire site of Rampage will have a NOTAM filed for it, and you'll have no remote ID requirements while you're there.
Unless you're a 107 operator, right? Or no?
I have no idea. I don't think so, but...
Oh, this is like not just for recreational pilots, but even 107. This is not a FRIA.
I haven't seen anything limited. I mean, we've already talked about it. FRIA doesn't limit recreational or commercial, remember? We had this discussion.
Oh, maybe I'm out of date. I'm forgetting.
Yes.
Anyway.
But this is not a FRIA. This is not a FRIA. This is a temporarily approved space where you do not need remote ID by the FAA. So you basically contacted the FAA, said, we have a big event. We want you to support it. We want to make sure that we have it free and open. And they said, okay, no problem. File a NOTAM. We've got the NOTAM set up. So yeah, it'll all be good to go.
Yeah, that's really exciting for those who...
I think...
Yeah.
I'll just say, I think for me, it's really exciting because it shows that the FAA is willing to work with us. Like, to say, like, hey, here's a giant place where a ton of drones will be. Yeah. You just told us ahead of time. You want to let everybody fly there without any issue. We don't care. Just tell us where it is. Let's file a NOTAM for the area so people know that that's happening, and you're good to go. I think that's positive. It sucks that we have remote ID. It sucks that we have to do the rules. It sucks that the remote ID modules cost so much. It sucks all the other stuff. But at least we are getting some kind of understanding of the FAA. They could easily just say no. You know?
Yeah.
So
they could. It's nice that they didn't. And it's nice, and I'll say it because I know you won't, it's nice that we have the FPV Freedom Coalition to go to bat for us and help make this happen. So thank you. And fpvfc.org is the FPV Freedom Coalition if you want to become a member.
Yes. Yeah, we would appreciate your memberships. It helps keep us all getting to meetings and doing, making sure stuff happens. And, there's filing fees for stuff, and there's different, costs that go on for running a website and a business and stuff. So we appreciate any donations you guys have by becoming members. So.
And soon you guys can sell out for $250 million.
Not as a nonprofit. We promise you that.
Oh, damn it. There's got to be a loophole. Let's see here. Betaflight 4.5 is finally actually released. Oh my God, it's such good news.
Yeah, it's been around for a while.
It's been around for a long time.
We've known about it for a while, but it's finally out of the release candidate stage, and it has been released. So if you were waiting for the stable Betaflight to get here, it hit last week, and now you've got 4.5 good to go with no known issues.
Yeah, I've got a Betaflight 4.5 playlist where I go into some of the new features. Joshua, Bardwell, Betaflight 4.5. I should have really put that in the show notes, but I didn't. Including Betaflight 4.5. There's been a change to the rates in angle mode that really you need to know about. And GPS rescue, got a setup guide there. And here's an overview of the new Betaflight 4.5 features, even though this video is 4 months ago. Jeez, that's how long until when release candidates started coming out. It goes over some of the big features in 4.5 that are new, and so you could definitely check out all those videos. Yeah. very exciting.
Yeah, so good on Betaflight. We, as always, appreciate Betaflight. A lot of us are here because of Betaflight and its ease of use. And yeah, it's good to see them coming out with a full another version.
Yeah. Brandon Bean says, forget about angle mode and embrace the new Horizon mode. You shut your mouth. You shut your mouth. I don't. Horizon mode is significantly better in Betaflight 4.5. I will tell you that. That's actually in my angle mode video. I test out Horizon mode as well.
Does it still auto flip?
What does that mean?
Does it still flip when you go past a certain point in Horizon?
Well, it switches to acro mode, right? So it doesn't auto flip, but if you go past a certain point, now it's in acro mode, and if you recenter the stick, it'll turn back upright.
Gotcha.
I found it to be there. The problem with Horizon mode has historically been that there's this point in the stick deflection where suddenly you're in acro mode, right? And
yeah, I guess that's what I mean. It's like it feels like you just go to a certain point in the roll, and then suddenly you're flipping. You're
no,
rolling.
it's way better.
You know what I mean?
It's way better.
Okay.
I didn't find it to be intrusive at all. So what they've done is if you're upside down, it's based, I forget, it's been a while since I played with it, but it's based on your stick deflection and your position. So if you're past a certain point of rotation, like if you're upside down and you center the stick, it doesn't flip you back over again. It's just like, nah, you're good. You got this, right? But then as soon as you get close to level, it goes back and starts re-leveling you. I didn't find it to be intrusive. I still am just going to fly in acro mode, but I think it was way better. Yeah. Anyway. I'm being told by Roborito that gate is a design patent which covers the cosmetic appearance of the gate only. But even then, shouldn't it be a trademark, not a design patent? I don't know. Anyway, just want to acknowledge that point since we didn't get that right. Yeah.
All right.
I don't know why this wasn't sooner in the live stream. We got a name like Mark Rober.
Yeah.
What's he done?
Mark
Hiding
Rober,
inside this.
did a video on drones where he went through and tested out some different UAS, like counter-UAS technologies. So they basically went and talked to people about how counter-UAS works, and why a lot of it, how a lot of it can be avoided. Honestly, they go through how to avoid a lot of the counter-UAS. And they sort of talk about the ultimate idea being that you slam into it with another drone, because everything else can be avoided in some way or another. Like microwaves can be avoided by putting tape on the inside that deflects it. There's different ways to stop a lot of the different methods. So he basically had them show about how to knock the drone out of the air, and then he had him and his friends build different solutions to try to knock drones out of the air, homemade. And they experiment and showed those different solutions. Well, including one which is a vortex cannon.
That sounds awesome. That sounds like an awesome video.
Peter Schriepel shows up in this, along with a bunch of different guys who were in the creator
I'm
groups.
disappointed that I wasn't asked to participate.
Yeah,
I know things about drones. Where was it?
you gotta get in with the you gotta get in with the right people.
Yeah, Nurk knows him, and Peter Schriepel knows him.
Yeah. Peter Schriepel's the way to go in there, because they got all those guys who are always in videos together doing different DIY stuff. So
I don't do a lot of DIY stuff.
That's true.
That's my problem.
Other than drones, but yeah.
That's all cute. I haven't watched it yet, but it sounds like a whole bunch of companies who are interested in free advertising for their anti-drone technology got together with Mark Rober to try to make it seem like their technology was effective, when in reality it's probably not.
I would agree, except the guy on there was basically like, yeah, they could stop all these technologies. None of this works.
Right.
He's like, we have to hit him with the drone. So that's basically the only technology they're advertising.
That's hard. That's hard to do too. Like,
well, they show how they're doing it, and basically they have this drone that they launch, then it hovers 30 feet away from the other drone and tracks them, and they hit a button and then it goes in and attacks.
Okay. I'm very interested to learn more about the limits of that technology, because it's hard. It's hard to hit a drone in flight.
One of the DIYers also did it, And yes,
Yeah.
it is hard, but he was able to do it with like a FPV drones with some like a camera thing attached
Yeah.
to it. So
Interesting.
it's kind of neat.
I gotta watch it. Maybe there's some information here.
All right.
Anyway, very cool. I haven't watched that video, but I will now. I didn't even know it existed. It's from 2 weeks ago. How did I miss it? See, this is why I have to come back and do the news.
Yeah.
All right.
Justifying the news for one more week. Okay.
Well,
next up, we got a story from NASA. We've talked about NASA a couple times here for the Ingenuity copter that they were flying on Mars. But they have just approved a new rotorcraft mission because they did so good. They've now got an 8-bladed rotorcraft, Dragonfly, that will be flying on Saturn's moon Titan. And that has been approved for building and flight.
very cool.
That's pretty cool.
That's it. That's all the only picture we got. Sending drones to other planets, baby.
Yeah.
It turns out the
now,
aliens were us all day long.
Just so you have an idea here, okay?
Yeah.
We're talking about Saturn's Titan, and they've got to build this thing still and do the whole process. So we're talking about 2034 is when this thing will be landing on Titan.
I thought, I mean, isn't Elon Musk going to have a whole colony on Mars by then?
That
was my understanding.
But this will just be landing on Titan at that time.
Okay.
So
Well, Titan's a little further than Mars.
it's true.
Like, at least, like, a week. I assume that there is an atmosphere on Titan, Kazi. Otherwise, a multi-rotor would be kind of dumb.
Yeah.
All
right.
Yeah. Next up, we're heading into It's Barely News.
Yeah.
Just little stories.
Show.
Yeah.
Sorry, this is the point of the show where we typically stop and check and see if we have any super chats.
Oh, I don't even think we have super chats, man. Nobody super chats us. Let me look, though.
Fair
Viewer activity. Nah, no. We have super chats. Oh, my God. Podcast. Thank you for 14 South African Rand. Podcast wants to know whatever happened to MLDR.
They're still doing stuff a little bit, as far as I know. After their refusal to pay their pilots, I believe they might have come and done that at some point. I'm not 100% sure. We didn't receive official response from them. Basically, we talked about how they had a dispute with AK, and we didn't feel that was very correct after the refusal to pay people as well. We got a nasty email from them, and we're basically done covering them. So
yeah, pretty much. We haven't checked back in. We think that, I mean, even if they did pay the pilots and make that particular incident right, the whole thing pretty much left a bad taste in my mouth, and it doesn't seem very like something I want to like be around or promoting, is how I see it. Verbalance, thank you for €1 and 2 more euros. Verbalance, I would take the Mark V HD frame. He asked Mark IV or Mark V. These are GetFPV frames. I liked the Mark IV frame okay, but the Mark V is much better. I'm actually not even sure where you're seeing Mark IVs for sale, but I guess maybe they still make them. No, I'd take the Mark V 100%. So thank you for your donation there. It's barely news.
Yes, it is barely news. And the first story we have today is that if you want to see an old TV show that's pretty bad, a reality show about drones, you can watch that. This was re-uploaded. This is a really old show that got re-uploaded to this channel in entirety about a month ago. So if you want to check it out, including people like Kebab FPV is part of this show.
Bob Ruki?
Bob Ruki is on this show. It's rough.
These drones,
I'll say the editing is rough. Some of the way they handle things is rough. Some of the challenges are rough, but it's kind of interesting, and it is a part of drone history. Yeah, we wanted to let you know that it existed.
Okay. See what things were like. When was this filmed? Do we know?
I do not know exactly when, but I know it's
this is 45
old.
minutes longer than it needed to be. It's so edited.
There's Kebab replying.
Yeah. Oh, 5 days ago. Alrighty, well, there you go. Drone Wars. Bamboo discount code. Okay.
Yeah, we normally don't include stuff like this in the news, but this is one like, oh, it's out of stock. Oh my God.
What do you mean it's out of stock?
Okay, well, never mind.
You can't have it?
I guess not. This was
They
literally
only-
just, I guess they had a limited amount of the codes or something that they did. I was not aware that was the case.
Why is it out of stock? Complete checkout to receive your coupon code. Available after list of license keys.
Yeah, I
Please
did
enter
it already. Like, I did it previously to see how it worked. And, like, yeah, it was no problem. You just check out and you get a code. Unfortunately, that is not happening anymore, I guess. But
Well, let me
so
check
this
with
is now a story.
RotorRiot. I mean, check 10% off a bamboo printer. First of all, in case you haven't heard me rave about my bamboo printer, it's amazing. I will, in the interest of full disclosure, tell you Bamboo sent it to me, and I did not buy it with my own money. You can do what you want with that information. It's amazing, and I love it. And if, when it ever dies, I will 100% spend my own money buying another one. It has turned 3D printing into the experience that I always wanted it to be, which is I want an object, I click go, I get the object. And it's not that they're infallible and have no problems. A search on the internet shows that there are still people out there struggling with them, but just the amount of problems is so much reduced compared to every other printer I've ever owned. And I just freaking love it and can't recommend it enough. And the pricing is, like, if you get the top of the line, you're going to pay, you know, whatever, $1,200, $1,300. But they have printers down as low as, I think, $350. They're smaller, but they still have all of the goodness of, like, they print really easily and they have really good profiles for the filament, so you get good results without having to do a lot of screwing around. I'm as close to saying it's hard for me to imagine anybody buying a different brand for any reason. But obviously that's an overstatement, but it's so 10% off. That's not a small amount of money on some of these things.
I put it on here because they typically don't have discount codes. So this was just a special discount code through RotorRiot. You could use to support them. The A1 Mini is $249. That's their cheapest printer.
Yeah.
That's why I think this is a fairly worthwhile thing. But unfortunately, they are no longer doing those codes. So this is not a story. So
Is it? Have you confirmed it's done?
no, but it's their website. I mean, they stock them. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
not like I don't.
Yeah. Like maybe there's been a problem and they mean to have
Well,
more.
that's too
Anyway,
bad.
you
They
can,
suck.
You can
They
always
should've
check.
fixed
You
it.
can always check again later, see if it comes back
Yeah.
in. But maybe they only did a certain number. Super Deluxe wants to know, how'd you get them to send you a printer, bruh? When you're a big shot like me, they just reach out, man. Somebody just contacted me one day and said, "Hi, I'm from Bamboo. Do you want a free printer?"
Get more subscribers. That's the answer.
Sorry, dude. I mean, there are occasionally it's good to be me, and that was one of those days. I was like shitting myself, really. Like I couldn't believe it, like because most of the time people are like, "Hey, do you want a free drone?" And I'm like, "Yeah, thanks. I have a lot of drones. I don't want another one," you know. But this one was good. Anyway, does it work without internet access? Yes, it can absolutely work offline. 100%. Anyway.
Next up, we got a story about Zipline. We've talked about Zipline in the past, about delivering different things over drone. Zipline is the company that typically does the launched planes, but they also do the drone deliveries. And they've just hit 1 million deliveries to customers currently. And they are going to start doing pizza in Detroit, Panera Bread in Seattle, the health system in Houston, and a bunch of different companies. They are continuing to expand and think that, it's valid. They're going to basically continue to scale up and keep doing deliveries.
I don't know. Like, you tell me you're delivering medicine in Africa using drones, and I'm like, yeah. You tell me you're rescuing dogs that are lost with drones. I'm like, yeah. You tell me I'm using a freaking drone to deliver a Panera sandwich. I'm like, do we need drones for this? Do we really need drones for this? I don't know.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
I also included a story just to keep in check with them of Drone Up. We know Amazon has been going under. Amazon shut down more of their drone delivery locations. But basically, Drone Up, I included them just to see where they're at, and they are just claiming hundreds of thousands. They don't have a specific number, but they reach like 4 million customers. So Drone Up is still, also working on their stuff. And Google Wing is the other company that's still trying to do this stuff as well. So I think as
Yeah.
long as there's competitors continuing to fight for this, we'll continue to see investment money push towards this.
Of course.
Zipline is currently valued at $4.2 billion.
That's a lot
and
of
they
dollars.
are number 36 on the most innovative companies of 2024 list.
They're doing
I think
cool shit.
I think it's one of those things where they're hot for investor money right now.
Yes.
Especially for somebody who wants to gamble on a new technology.
DoorDash is already, like, I don't know if it's just where I live or my personal experience. Food delivery, I am done with food delivery. DoorDash and Grubhub, I have had so many bad experiences with them in so many different ways. Like, the best case scenario is that I've had some good experiences, but so many bad ones. I guess I shouldn't overstate it. So many times the food is wrong, the food is cold, the food is poor quality, just all kinds of bullshit. And I'm just like, forget it. I'm not doing it. So now the idea that my food will get picked up by a drone and flown through the air, just shaking around and getting all messed up, and then get to me and it's cold and they drop it and it falls and I'm like, no, I don't want it. I don't want it.
That's fair.
Yeah. Overpriced.
All right. So that's our update on drone deliveries. Probably still not super viable, but it'll be interesting to see how long it is viable for. Next up, we've got the robot called the Double B. I wanted to show you this weird drone creation, because that's kind of one of the things we do here, is show you those weird drone creations that people make up.
Oh, wow.
This is a two-wheeled, two-propeller drone that can have different setups.
That's interesting.
And movement abilities by using the back two propellers for propulsion and angle, and keeping it off the ground essentially, and can go into an upwards balanced version or driven up only by the wheels, or a kind of a fallback version that uses the motors to push. It's kind of interesting.
So it can
also
fly,
obviously take off, yes.
But also it can support its own weight using the wheels. That's
and then it has
sick.
like a PID loop to balance it when it's upright, or it has one to fall back and do it to drive forward. Yeah, pretty cool idea. I'm not sure how effective, but pretty neat idea.
Can you put a flamethrower on it?
I'm sure.
Okay.
I can't see why not.
By the way, by that same token, just in order to not sound like a hypocrite, Zipline, if you put a flamethrower on your food delivery drones, I will support them. Have you seen this robot dog with a flamethrower on it? Have you seen this?
Yes.
$10,000. $10,000 for a robot dog with a flamethrower on it. I feel like that's just like, just take my money.
Is this a hint about the next video we're going to see from you?
It's not available yet till the summer.
Oh, okay.
I realistically, there's no way I would spend that much money on it, but I feel like some YouTuber is going to be making a crazy video.
Yeah. Who was it? What's that guy's name? Michael. The guy from Offline TV bought a Boston Dynamics robot because he just thought it was cool.
Yeah, those ain't cheap.
So, no, definitely not.
Yeah. All right, one more. One more story.
And it's, I bet, a story you would expect it to be.
Is it a dog rescue?
It is a dog rescue, and this is a good one. This story is from Zach. Zach was hiking in the Catskill Mountains and slipped on ice on a 14-mile hike and fell down a cliff. But his dog did not fall down the cliff. His dog was on the cliff above him, and he could not reach her.
Oh, no, and the dog wouldn't jump down with him.
And so he could not jump down. It wasn't safe, and also, wouldn't. His phone hit 3% charge. He had no flashlight. It was wet, and it was dark. So he had to leave his dog on the mountain.
Oh, no.
He went home, slept for an hour or two, and immediately went back and looking. For 2 days and nights, he looked for the dog. He says he walked over 50 miles on trails to find the dog, and eventually found somebody with a thermal camera in the area, a local drone service with a thermal camera, and was able to get that located. He hiked a mile to find the dot that the thermal drone found, and was able to find his pup.
Oh, man.
She was cut up dirty and only down a few pounds. And now he is back with his pup.
That's really great. Wow.
I mean, that's basically an impossible rescue if you don't have a thermal drone.
No,
you know what I mean?
And frankly, even looking at the picture, there's your dog. Yeah, that pixel right there.
Yeah.
Jesus.
The drone operator was able to identify that it was either a dog or a black bear, and he had to hike a mile to find out.
Can you imagine if he like got there and it was a bear, and then he like got eaten by the bear, and they were like, "Oh, oops, we fucked up."
That's not.
Thank goodness that didn't happen.
Yes.
Hey, I found your dog. I'm pretty sure it's your dog. I mean, well, what else could it be? It could be a bear. It's your call. You gonna give me anything else? Nah, that's all I got. I got dog or bear. Can't tell the difference. Seems like an oversight. No, I know. Black bears are fine. I'm just playing the bit. I'm playing up the bit. All right. Well, we're very, very happy. That picture is worth 1,000 words right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. That poor doggo thought she was abandoned, or he.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
And she now has a GPS collar, so she can't get lost again, just so you know.
Oh, I need one of those.
Right.
We got another super chat from Will McGregor. Thank you again, Will McGregor, for £1.99 and £4.99. I bought a Nazgul, by the way, very, very, he puts the little hat on top of the Nazgul, so bonus points for that. Bought a Nazgul F5 that was analog instead of digital. What's the cheapest way to get it to work with my DJI goggles too? You need to buy an O3 air unit. Well, cheapest way to get it to work with the G2 would probably be a RunCam Link or Caddx Vista. Pick your camera, pick the camera of your choice. That's going to get you at about $150 to $170. And then you're just going to take the analog VTX and camera out and drop yours in, and then you'll need to do some basic setup to get the OSD working and so forth. Some people would decide to get the O3 Air unit because they want the advantages of the O3 Air unit. It is going to be a little higher resolution, a little better image quality. And when you see the goggles too, they are compatible with the older generation of Air units, but many people associate the goggles too with the O3 since they released together. That's your call. But that's what you got to do. Yeah, that's it. ATEC FPV, we should put this on the news just to get the word out. ATEC FPV asks if I'm going to Rampage. I can confirm that I am not going to Rampage. Could I have found a more confusing way to put that? I have been on the fence. I have said I have said I might or might not go. I'm not sure yet. In the past, I can tell you right now, based on my schedule, I cannot go to Rampage. That is not going to be happening. So apologies. I'll miss you all terribly. I actually, my editor Fabio is coming into town. Him and his wife are coming to town. They're arriving this Sunday. It'll be their first time in the U.S. and we have a whole bunch of activities planned. And unfortunately, the week of Rampage was one of the only times I could fit that in my schedule. So had to make that call. But
as far as us and our shows, we'll be back on Friday for a randomly scheduled Q&A because we're going to try to do a little makeup Q&A for what we're missing. Friday we'll be here at 8 p.m. Eastern
Friday,
time.
8 p.m. Right? Yep. So our normal Monday night time slot is going to be this Friday instead. Yep. So get the word out.
And then we'll be back on Sunday as well. So the Friday the 10th, Sunday the 12th. And then our next time will be the 27th. That's currently our plan. Mm-hmm. So we'll have another big gap, and then we'll be back then.
Yeah. And we will see you there. Happy flying, everybody. And yeah. We'll see you next week.
Later, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.